been bugging us for a while, is this Leylandii. So we've just trimmed it all back here just to neaten it up, and then that happened. Look, all the green stuff fell off. So there's another 2 to come out here, and they are absolutely huge things. They're horrible, covered in muck and dirt as well. And then there's brambles intertwined. So this is the SWI armoured cable that runs from the 6mm cable that comes down to here, and then there's this, I don't know if that's 4 or 6, I'm not sure what it is, but that supplies power to the barn. So I've just had to pull it all up for the moment. I need to probably sort of pull it right through because I keep whacking it with that machine down there. So what I've done, we've cut in this, what is that, about 1.2 metre channel along here. And I don't know if it's evident, but this is absolutely sheer now. So whatever we do, we need to move quite quickly with it. I've got to somehow, the plan is to follow the edge of this patio that's here. About here, roughly where the wood is. We're going to come down from the corner 8 metres, so 4 metres plus 4 metres, that'll get us to about here. These aren't being pulled out actually because it will loosen this hole. Okay. Yeah, upside down cat. It will loosen all the soil, so I'm better off leaving the roots there. So at some point this is going to be cut down to ground level. And then I'm going to try and put in some holes here somewhere, probably from the 8 metre mark here, the 4 metre mark, and the 0 mark. And the idea is to put some telegraph pole wood in, or maybe just some of this stuff, I'm not sure yet. And then you come up perhaps like, so I'll bore a hole, let's say down, I'm making this up now, 18 inches, something like that. So what's that, 50 centimetres? I'm not even sure because there's lots of rock here. You can see it just all poking through here. Anyway, point is, put some short pillars in. They don't want to be too high because we don't want to step up from here to here. But this whole level is going to be, say, 4 metres plus 4 metres. The first 4 metres, it'll all go out 3 metres here, and then we'll go up about 2 metres. So this whole area here is going to be a kitchen, and it'll be suspended on decking. So what we're basically doing is putting out decking from here, 3 metres that way. This will be 4, this will be 3. So this rectangle will be for these little chairs and things can sit in here. And then this section is going to be, like you see the kitchen thing over there. We just bought that as a sample. And I've got my nice little pizza pizza oven around the corner. So we're going to make this a kitchen thing, and like we've got a very gentle slope on that, we're going to have just a tin roof here sloping down. So from the front it's going to be slightly higher than it is at the back, and then we'll probably screen it with some netting or something. We've got they're 6-inch posts, and the whole point of these is just to give me that rail along here. So what we do is put we've got an 8x2 double up, so an 8x4, so 2 of them stuck together. We'll notch out this piece of 6-inch here, take out 4 inches across it, and then we'll run the 8x2s down there, so 2 of them together, be about that wide of 6-inch. So we'll end up with just a little slot of wood on the edge of this. Right, here's one of the first corner posts in. There's the second. See the space from the bottom because I cut it too low. I think it'll be okay. Space in there as well. And of course the third one, just rough cut with chainsaws. But that now means that I've got this 6 metre length across here, which of course means I need this 6 metre piece of wood. So the one on top is 4.8 metres, and the 2 underneath are each 3 metre lengths, 3 metre. So with the 4.8 spanning across the 2, just to give it a bit of strength, and then I'll plug that bit in a minute and plug in that bit there. So first beam rail, I keep using different words for it, is in. Next one's going to come in down there before we can start putting in these 3 across here, which of course haven't been delivered yet because they're telegraph poles. I need to work out, now I've got this front 6 metre stretch in here, and that's the entire length, of course, of the decking. I need to work out, I need to square it up. So I need to find out either here, come out 90 degrees and 90 degrees there, and then of course measure across the diagonals just to confirm that I've actually got I've got a rectangle. You know, in some ways I don't think it matters, because I've got a clean front edge, which is where the decking's going to start. Even if this was a bit deformed, I don't really care, because decking, so we're going to put I don't know the word for it, beams across here, joists if you like. They're going to sit on top of there now. It's 16 of them are going to be laid across here, sat on top of there and sat on top of this one when it goes in. So that means the decking is going to run that way. Now, arguably, if this is a trapezoid underneath it, you know, it's even just a slightly deformed rectangle to some degree, you know, just in a regular shape, it doesn't matter, because the decking that's going to go down can overhang. So this is 6 meters. The decking normally comes in 4.8 meters. So we're obviously going to put 4.8 meters and then have to, you know, cut another bit in. Well, there's no reason why we can't go beyond the 6 meter point, beyond the 6 meter point here, on top of all of these rails. So actually having accuracy down here, I'm not getting stressed about it. I don't think it matters. So we can overhang here by, I don't know, what's that, 100 mil or something, 4 inches, easily. We can overhang, well in fact we overhang down there about 4 inches, otherwise have to take out the next Leyland tree and the post. But here we can definitely do it. So not too precious about making this absolutely bang on, but it does make sense to try and project out now 90 degrees. So we'll do a bit of triangulation, basic stuff, right? It's the whole Pythagoras stuff, yeah? So we measure along the square of the sides and hypotenuse and all that sort of stuff, right? It's not difficult, just to work out exactly where 90 degrees is here. Right. Brazilian in the middle of the driveway. See, like the muddy bit, I'm trying to grow grass in the middle, so later on I'm going to put some more topsoil along there, and that's my Brazilian. This is where we're going. Of them along there, and that top rail is just visible. So what I'm doing is just getting these 2 poles down here somewhere. I'll just park them up somewhere, then I'm going to get the machine in here, move these bits of timber, get the machine in here, go and clear all of this out in here. Can you see earlier on, or on the last kind of quick update I did, I was talking about taking off that top edge up there. Just so it's not quite so steep, just blend it off a little bit, and then I'm going to go get some material from around by the side and bolster this up. But it's all going to come after we've cleaned it all out, and then start thinking about getting these things here. They're currently about 4 meters long, and I think I need them about 3.2 or 3.3 meters up here. So we'll need to go right down to the M1 and do the M1 first, and then work back this way to the other 2. Right, let's keep going. All I've done is I've put in this 90 degrees here, worked out where 90 degrees is, and put in a piece of wood right onto the very end. It's actually, what's the word? Disposable, I suppose. It's that 4x2 going along the bottom there. It's actually attached on the end of the decking, not part of the decking. So ultimately it'll come back off again. What it tells me though is that the inside edge, so that edge of that beam across there, is the end of the decking, the inside, and that means now I've projected it out to here. That's 4 meters where I want it, so that end stop is fine. And it's telling me that the pole I put in, look, if I make a sort of slot across here, there, the pole is going to be in that space just there. So again, this side of that piece of wood is the absolute outside of the decking. So this is, there's a word, like forfeit or something like that. And the whole point of it is this is now 90 degrees to that, and it's 4 meters long, and it's essentially telling me where I need to put the pole, which is right in there. And I've had to build this little platform here, because once we get the pole up here, we're going to need to cut it, and then I'm not quite sure yet, probably we need to start thinking about how we're going to sink in the other 6 meter big long beam, which is over there, into these 3 poles. So ultimately they're going to need to be cut in and fixed to it. That thing's going to need to be fixed into the pole. So I'll probably end up doing what I've done here, is that when I've got the pole sticking up, I'll actually cut off like pretty much 2/3 of it, and then just leave like a section I can actually just bolt it to. So the real point of this is for this downward support, and that's the same here. These don't necessarily need to be very deep, these 3, because it's all about just having this strong rail, I keep calling it. So 1 rail's in, thinking about the next one. So the first one to do is get this one in here. It's actually down there on the floor. It is there. And all this framework is literally just so I can walk out there and cut off the end of the telegraph pole. And then all of this other nonsense here will be taken away. So it's down there. There's the pole. It's about 8 inch. Goes to about 7 by the time you get to the top. It's pretty much over the hole at the bottom here, down here. So what I really need to do, it's a bit of a 2-man thing. It's actually got a little U-clamp on the top, like a little U-clamp thing. What I can do is attach the quad bike, so I'll get the quad bike up here with me, attach the winch on the front of it to the top of that, and then what I'll do is with the digger, I can push down on it. If I push down on that right there, it's using as like a pivot there, and all of that comes up in the air. So the idea is you push that down. So now this is up about sort of 4, 5, 6 foot up in the air. Clamp on the winch onto it, put some tension on it, then I can release the tension on the digger and let the quad bike basically keep that thing suspended in the air down there. And then what I need to really do is just probably put the bucket in like as a stop on the end of this pole down here, and then just winch this up. And I'm obviously aiming to get it into that space just there. Yay! It's raining. I'll run the battery down in the quad bike, so I've got to sort that out. I'm just having a break from meetings. Little update on this. For the first post in. That was easy to go in. Wasn't too bad, but because I made this the plank, I suppose, this tiny little, this is temporary. It's all coming out. It's purely just so I could get to stand that thing up. Onto this one next. Look, that one there is actually a lot heavier than this one, and I've got to work out now to stand it up and of course attach it onto something here. So I've got a 4 meter piece of wood there ready to extend out here, which is exactly what I did on this side. And I'm going to have to go in because it's chucking it down. It's a 4 meter piece of wood there. It's marked there. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's really, that piece of wood is sacrificial, and it's to tell me where that goes. So I need to do the same there, with the trick being, of course, that I need to be there to fix whatever I put in here onto the post that's coming up here. Hence why I've ended up building this sort of bit of decking just so I can get to it. So clearly they're not staying there. That's purely just so I can attach that to that, and that's temporary. So the plan is, right, take that big beam there. I need to get the second one on the 3 posts. Once they're in here, then I could take one of the 8x2s and take it from here stand it up, stretch it across there, or stretch it, lay it out across here, and that would bind this beam to this beam. Once I do that with an 8x2, do it by another 8x2, another one. Ultimately, there's going to be like 16 of them across there, something like that, 14, can't remember. Whatever 6 meters is divided by 400 mil spaces. So once I've got all these across here, all I need to do is just strap a couple of pieces of wood at an angle here, and that whole deck then will be a rectangle of pieces of wood going across like that. At that point, I can detach that 4 meter thing there, because it won't be doing anything. And of course those two boards there won't be doing anything. So I need to build the same sort of effect here that lets me put that post in, the same effect there that lets me put the third post in. So I'd start with the sky. There's a sunset and some V8 rolling off into the distance. Well, that was a hot day. Tomorrow is going to be worse. There's the second beam. We've had some help today, which is great. The young uns are here, so we've had 2 of them to help us. So that's the second. There's obviously the first one's in situ. Here's the second one. We've got the posts up, kind of broadly. They're held in position by all of this sacrificial. All of it, I think, is temporary. All of it, apart from obviously the 3 posts. And this beam held in by, or sat on these 3 posts here. And what I'll actually do, I'm going to recover some of this old wood here, some of this, which has been in the ground for 20 years. Where the wood is good, I'm going to chop out the middle section, and I'm going to repurpose that, just soak it in creosote, and I'm going to put it in here. So big post, I'll sink it in the middle, just so it distributes some of the load across this front beam. For no reason, but because I can. It's easy to do. Chop off the wood, sit it down, fix it on, done. Maybe a couple there, a couple here. It's easy to do, so we'll come back round to it. I've got plenty of these old beams, posts essentially. They're the same as these old fence posts. So I'll take out the healthy bit in the middle and treat it. So yeah, why not? Nice and easy. So we'll end up with a beam. There's the second beam. The second beam is going to go inside those 3 posts, underneath the sacrificial wood, as you can see there. Zoom in. Obviously they're the first cuts. Cut across it, knock it out, sit that, obviously upright, into there, leave a couple of temporary fixings on. Then we go and get some 8x2s like those, because there's a big stack of them around the corner, and we lay them across here. Maybe let's just do 1, 2, 3. Maybe 1, 2, 3. Once they're in place, put a 45-degree strap across them, and then all the temporary stuff can come out. Yeah. Just getting ready to winch it up. The beam is down there. Ropes over each end. And the idea is give it a tug and the beam will come up. That's the plan. It's very, very hot. I know. It's good, isn't it? Right, I better do something. That's right. Right, let's see if I can do a picture. Let's do this. This is the edge of the house. This is ground level. So we've got a patio that goes out here like this, and then there is a slope of death, and then a little space, and then ground level, and then there's a barn here which is that high. How does it go? Like that, I think. Something like that. Yeah, it's close to that. It's actually kind of like that, and then that sort of shape. It's a bit weird. Long roof, short roof. Anyway. This is the point of it. This is about 3 meters high, 3m, which of course means that is 2. This is about 1 meter wide roughly here. Don't know where that's relevant. What we intend to do is right along the edge of the garden here is this horrible old Leylandy hedge here, stuck in the ground like that. And it goes obviously that way, and then it goes down the end and back on the lawn that way. So what I've done is I've wiped this out on a 6 meter run. So if I was to look down on my house now, let's draw the house. There's a house. Let's stick the patio out now. There's a patio. This is now lawn, like that, something like that. Is that lawn? Yeah, let's just say that's the lawn. That's the patio. This is the house. And this is the crappy hedge. Horrible thing. Looking down. And what I've done is I've just wiped this out. Doink. Here. So when I look back at this hedge that's here, it's basically gone for about, this is about 6 meters here. So what I want to do on that 6 meter span there, going out, I want to stick a little post in the ground, not a lot, something like that. Doesn't have to be high, and this isn't deep. And then I'm going to put in some posts here, about that many big, like that. 3 of them in a row. So let's draw them on. Let's put in this little, this one here, just here, little boop, boop, boop. So this is 6 meters. So we've got like, it's going to be 6 meters of decking, 6 meters across there. This is actually, this is 4 meters. Okay, you can see a problem with my scale here, but anyway. Okay, let's draw it out a little bit more. There we go. Right. There's still 6 meters, right? This is 4 meters, this is 6. That's all we need to know about. So what I'm trying to make is an outdoor kitchen here, suspended with these post, and then 3 posts here. I'm doing these ones round. These ones are square because they are actually square, and these are telegraph poles. So there's a telegraph pole, and there's 1, 2, 3, and then these here are these. And what I'm going to do is notch out of these a little bit doop like that, and then let's stick it in here like that, badoop, and in there I'm going to put in a nice big beam, and in there I'm going to put in a nice big beam, and across the beam I'm going to stick in bits of 8x2 like that, loads of them. So I've got these posts, these 3 posts here, 3 posts here, and here, 1, 2, 3, they're the square ones. 1, 2, 3, down around ones, and then clean up the bit like that a little bit. There's a beam here, mounted in these posts, so it's mounted in the posts, remember? And then again, this beam here is actually inside this post, or half inside it. There it is there. So these things here are going to basically be 6 meters long. So this little beam here, is that one there. No, it's not. That one there is this one by the house. This one is this one. Round ones, square ones, square ones, round ones. Now I put these beams in, so I've drawn one on there, and then we go, right, let's put one right on the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is 6, which is 20 foot, 6,000 centimeters or 6 meters, or 20 foot. And what I'm doing is spacing these 400 apart. If you do the maths on that, that's 15, but you've also got position 0 as well. So 0, 1 dB, 15. Got it? So 16 of them. So I want 16 8x2s. Yeah. I need these big chunky monkeys. These are too big. I'm calling them like bearers. They're going to be big, and it's going to be made of 8x2s. And what we do is we get one of them like that, and that's 4.8 meters, which is a standard bit of wood. And I'm going to get 2 3s here and go like that. That's 3 meters, and there's another 3 meters there, and this will be 1.2. This will be 60 centimeters, or if you like 600 millimeters, yeah, or 0.6 of a meter, or 32 imperial pounds, which is, of course, I'm being silly. That's also, let's call it 600 millimeters, just to be different. So 8x2. So all I'm doing is I'm making a piece of wood 6 meters by 4 by 4 inches wide. I'm terrible, aren't I? So it's going to be 2 bits of wood like stuck together. It'd be something like that. Nothing is happening today. Look at this. This is so wet. Right. Ah, such a shame. Plus all the grass has grown again. I've only just cut it 2 days ago. What? I can't do anything about this. I know, let's go in. Right. That's that. Never mind. Well, it's been a funny old day. And it is the end of the day. Right, here we go. I'm pouring with sweat as usual. Right. The 2 side plates are on. I'm happy with these 3 like bloody great screws that go through there for the moment, and I'm going to come back. Can you see that? See them? Those 3? I'm going to put one up in this corner, a bolt there and a bolt there, like these things. They've just turned up, they're behind me somewhere. They're like, they're 12 inch, so 300 millimeter bolts that go right through there. So once I've got 2 bolts there, I've got 2 bolts there, at least 2, and 2 in it. I need to go and tighten this this one up over here. And as you can see, I've put in loads of temporary kind of a walkway down here so that I can actually get down here and work on it. It's all just suspended on a couple of 2x4s. Nailed into the side, screwed into the side of this. So this is what I'm talking about. You see there's a gap in there? What I need to do is just back off this screw that's in here. Got a spider running up my leg, that wasn't very nice. Back off this, that would attach this from here, and then the only thing attaching this to that is that bolt just there, that screw. So essentially the weight of this now is sat in its notch. So what I need to do is I'll probably put one of these big things here. Have I got one in my pocket? No. Okay, so they're about 10 inches long roughly, or 8 inches long, those screws. It's got a thread on the end just here, and then the rest of the screw is actually just a smooth shank. So if I put one through here, this whole beam here can slide up and down the shank. The thread will go right the way through, the thread will bite into the wood, and then it will leave me with this sort of sliding shank. So I'll put one through here, and I'll leave it sticking out, so it just really makes sure that doesn't detach from that completely, which it shouldn't do. Then I can take that out, which is in at an angle there. You can probably see down here. Can you see in there? Slidey shank there. Take that one out, put a hole straight the way through it, put in a big 12-inch a bolt like this with a nut, and then do that up and compress it all like that, and that should pull it tight. That's the plan. And then I can then do up this screw that I would have left here temporarily and just pull it in tight, or just take it out. So once I get a bolt in there, hopefully that bolt will pinch this up. So release that one, put a screw in there, let it bite, take that one out, put a bolt through, bolt it up like that, do up the screw, put that back in again. Probably reseat it, but anyway, put that one back in. I've left these long because they can be cut off at any point. Those 2 there are actually level with this back edge of the pillars. And clearly this one and the far one are clearly sticking out because they can be taken off at any time now. These aren't really structural, these. All these are going to do is finish off the side. So the decking, we're going to put lots of beams across here and they're going to sit on top of this. And so ultimately we'll put beams across there, all the way across, and then put one on here as well. This will be the end one. So this is really just like a face plate because I don't like looking at the edge of this bit here. It's all a bit mucky, and my crappy join there, look as well. It just sort of faces it off. And it also, for the moment, gives me some sort of rigidity. And also, I've put in beneath me here, see this 45-degree one here, or thereabouts? It's actually just screwed in as well. See the screws sticking out? Again, that's just to give it some rigidity. So I've now got a completely stable platform, which is great. Oh, I just pushed the light button or something. I don't know what I've done there. When I put the 8x2s across here, it's obviously quite a big span. So you see these two, these are the first two, they're obviously lying this way, they're going to come up like that. So for the moment they're just tacked down because they're making sure the distance between there and there doesn't move. Hence I've got 1, 2, and actually this end one is doing the spacing here. If I get a chance next couple of days, so this 8x2 here, 8x2 here, I'm going to put a third one here, and that will let me hopefully muck about with this and this. So that I'll end up with my first 3 8x2s lined up across here. Now they're 3 of 16, and clearly they're currently like that rather than like that. But remember, it's just sort of keeping stuff in place at the moment. So what's the logic then? Sort this out. Let's say I'll put another one of these 8x2s this way, but on the other side of that post, down to there, like that. Fix it there, fix it there, and then arguably it makes that one there redundant because this distance and the space has been kept in place by that one, will be kept in place by the second one I put in, and that would ultimately be like the first joist going in across there. And we can do the same. At the end. Yeah, I could go down and mount it on top of this one, right on the very end, because this one is mirrored down there. I can stick it right on the very end. That will be also let's say number 16 is in place, and number whatever that is, 9, and this will be number 0. So I could put this one on top as well once I've finished mucking about with this. Makes sense? If I've got 0 and I've got 9 and I've got 16, then there's no reason, especially now I've got at least a bit of platform here. I can obviously, this has been quite difficult to get from here all the way around my dodgy path, which is disintegrating, which I've got plans for that path. I want to destroy it. I want to get the digger up here, and I actually want to make it into a ramp, but popular opinion is not to do that, so we'll see. I've got the digger. So what I've done, see these like little tiny steps just in here where I can step into here and step onto this platform. There's another step here somewhere. I don't know where it is. Oh, it's here somewhere. I just cut it in with my foot. I don't know where it is. I should know where it is because I hacked it in with the heel of my shoe. Okay, all right. Let's just ignore that then because I don't know where it is. That's weird. Actually, it was there. It was here. That's what I was doing. I remember hacking that in and then put a step in there so I can kind of walk down here, balance on that thing if I need to, and then walk in different directions. Probably not going to put like 3 or 4 people on here, but it will support my weight at the moment, say all across on 2 main 2x4s stretched across there. I could be a little bit more secure. I could just choose a couple of these, maybe that one there maybe, and I could actually just put a piece of wood like these things. I could just drop a piece of wood down there, screw it in, and it'll keep that firm, and everything will be happy chappy. It's all a bit higgledy-piggledy like this because I couldn't be bothered to cut all the wood exactly the same length, so I kind of just spanned out from the middle, as you can see. And the point is just to get to where I need to go to, so that's the whole point of this. Right, I think that's it. There is one 45-degree piece of wood up there which goes down there. Oh yeah, and this one on this side is mirrored on that side. It's probably obvious, just to give it some rigidity. And then there's one at the back holding that one. There's a 4x2 right down to that one. Maybe in the next few days, if I get a chance, I'll come back and put another one up this way somewhere, or wherever I can where it's not too difficult. Logically it would be easy to go from the inside down there, and now it won't. I could go from there down that way. It doesn't matter. doesn't matter. It's all pretty good at the moment, so I'm quite happy. Once we get all the 8x2s lined up, in not too distant, maybe even this weekend if I get that far, we might better go and get the decking and just put loads of decking on it. Loads of decking. Maybe want to treat this whole thing as well. Okay, your job. I'm allergic to the stuff. I burnt my arm. You see this? It's actually taken about 4 days to heal up because I had creosote on it, and then the sun got to it the other day, and that is not a nice mixture. If anyone's ever had it, if you haven't, avoid it. Ta-da! Just doubled up on the end. So we've got a big beam across here. We've got a big beam across here. The beams here. So the beam across here is now entrenched nicely into these telephone pole things. Look. So the first one is completely sunk in. The second one is fractionally, and that's now the same on all three. It took some time to get them in there, but they're in. And so the big beam across here is going to be supporting all of these joists that we've been talking about. So there's one, whatever you call like this, I don't know, we call it like a fascia type thing. It's not really doing much apart from it's just finishing off between that beam and that beam. That board there is just finishing the gap. So this end one as well isn't really sort of functional. It's not particularly load bearing. You could put some weight on it, but arguably it is on top of the one underneath it, which is actually on the end. It's attached to the end of this big beam here. So these two here, they're kind of for effect. The strength happens on that beam from the edge of the post. You can see the two 8x2s. They're 8x2s, and they kind of go along to the middle and then to the end, and then there's a 4.8 meter one across that. The 2 3s have a 4.8 meter one strapped across the two of them to give it strength. And you can see that in the middle somewhere here. There's a 4.8 meter one, and there's 2 3s all sandwiched together, and then of course they're all bolted. I'm toying with the idea of actually taking the bolts off that I put in. I put one in temporarily because I didn't like this one. I just convinced I could see some movement, even though there's bolts in there. I put another one there just to make myself feel a bit better. I'm going to come back and cut those bolts off. I think most of all the others are done. So we've got the strength across here now. Oh yeah, I did actually put in a couple of other little temporary. There's one there. There's a 4x4. Sunk into the ground. I've dug it down. I've taken some of this slate that I've had, smashed it up, put it all in the bottom. It's probably about that deep, and then I've used the tamper, like a heavy sort of metal weight on the end of a stick, to thump it all down into the ground, just to give it base. I kind of quite like it when timber has the opportunity to dry out. So that's not attached, by the way. It's just a spacer. So it is sat on top of compressed shale, essentially, or the slate, and then it's fixed in here with those. What are those fantastic things called? Have you got something on your ear? Yeah, check it out in a bit. I'm going to show you these. I've got tools all over the dining room in here. Right, these timber files. These are fantastic things. So they compress in. There's one of these. I don't know what that is. It's like a 7mm or something hex head. I'm not quite sure. 6mm, I don't know. These are brilliant. And so I've got the 200mm, which is 8-inch, and I've got some 5-inch ones as well. The 5-inch ones are pinching together those 8x2s that I used to make up the 6-meter beam. And I've also used them to go through that little 4x4 there. They've gone through there into this, the beam that's running along here. So they are fantastic things, they really are. So what we've got is a post there, in the middle, post there. All three of the posts have been obviously cut. As you can see here, it's a 6x6 post. It's been cut to accept the beam that's sat on it. So there's the three kind of fixing points, I suppose, or load bearing. And then there's a 4x4 sunk in there and one there, just like I'm showing you. Right, and then a beam across the back. So now the whole point is now, so let's call that, what do I call it? Like a supporting beam, I suppose. So now there's like these joists going across here, and it's self-explanatory, right? Like I said, the ones at the ends are pretty much for show. That's the first structural one. And then of course, noggins just filling it in. So, you know, I'm really tempted to walk on this now, but even, yeah, solid, really, really good. I'm pleased with this. By the time it gets the decking on top, it'll be fine. We've used these noggins that are here. They're used just as spaces while we're setting up the others. We're not going to fix these in here because there's going to be decking boards across the end here. Probably 2 decking boards, I would have thought. 200 mil, 120, 240. Yeah, I might be able to do it. If I knock out this concrete just here, that bit, I can actually sink it down. So I put one bit of decking on the top and then another strip underneath it, right the way across. And we're just about to either get a hold of the decking or just order a load of the stuff. We did a strange thing here, and this is actually by accident. This is 4.8 meters here, and it was always supposed to be 4 meters up to the beam, between the beams, or sorry, from outside the beam to the outside the beam. So it's supposed to be a 4 meter decking, and we used 4.8 wood. And as I was laying them down, I kind of had them extended out onto the lawn. I thought, well, I'll come across and cut it off here. So what we actually did, see, we put a string line along here, which is determining where, and we've only fixed in these so far. So from here onwards, these are all actually in line with the string, which meant that rather than having this bit of extra wood here, we've actually got a bit of wood at the back. And it just made me think, why am I cutting them off? Now, if I go right around here and look down it, strangely, they all actually clear my barn by about millimeters. So, because there's like a cantilever effect going on, I don't look at the fixings in these, remember these 2 bits of wood for show, they're not structural, the structural ones or the other ones. But I was starting to think, well, because any weight you push down on here is going to rotate about this point and then try and lift whatever the hell is on there. So, arguably, if we put decking across there, that's actually going to be, well, you can walk on it. So, I'm kind of the mind at the moment to think I might just put decking on it. The intention really was obviously just to cut it all off, right in line with the back of the telegraph poles. Cut it straight down there, but now I'm wondering, well, why don't I just leave them there? I can't think of a reason why I wouldn't leave them there. It also means I can get access to that area and stand on this platform here. It also means that whatever roof we're going to put on, because it's going to be a sloping metal roof on here, so we go up a couple of meters, and then have it sloping down very gently. While I'm sat in my cheap hotel editing this, because I've also got a day job that I spend most of my time doing, I just thought to point out that corrugated roof there on the left hand side, about 3 months after recording this video, a hurricane came along, took that roof away, but lovingly placed it exactly where it is right now, except for completely upside down. Just thought I'd share that. Go up a couple of meters and then have it sloping down very gently. Build a kitchen area, and all the water, I thought at the time, was just going to run off and drop straight down here, and which it does naturally, and then it goes downhill that way. So that's the natural course of water, is to go that way. So I didn't really ever plan on putting anything there, but now I'm wondering, well, if I just put some decking on it, I can stand on the decking to actually fit some guttering here up underneath the roof, on the end of the metal roof that we're going to put up. So, you know, plans change, right? So I always talked about that beam, plenty of joists across, a few noggins tucked in there just to stop it. So now I can stand on these 2 boards, the last 2, so I actually kind of got it about right. And it feels absolutely stable. It's really, really good. There's no movement at all, which is fantastic news. So we're probably going to keep the 0.8 of a metre over the edge there, and we're probably going to deck that as well. And what I think we're going to do is we're actually going to take off these telephone poles straight on the same level as all the rest of it. So we'll just have a big flat area. What we'll do is we'll get some 6-inch posts, same as these, and we'll essentially build them on top of here. So we'll just build like a box, and the same up here, of course. So a cube, if you like, ring beam around the top, and then perhaps a frame along the bottom, and it'll actually be fixed down into all of these things here, the noggins and the joists. That's how we're going to fix it down. I ummed and ahed quite a lot about trying to attach it to these posts, seeing as these obviously a huge amount of weight on them, but I don't think there's any point, so we're happy just to build it on top. Oh, that doesn't look good. See that? Geese. Hopefully it doesn't mean winter's coming, that would be really bad. Oh, that's quite cool. Nice. Right then, back on track. Decking next. So this week we're going to go get a trailer full of the stuff. It's going to be laid down this edge here. So I'm going to show you one of the mistakes. There is a mistake here. When we put this 6 metre beam in, and then that 6 metre beam, the way that this 6 metre beam went into the notch on these, it wasn't in the right place. It was tight on this end and it protruded on that end, which meant that what should have happened, there should be 3 metres between there and the middle and there. But actually what's happened is that one there is shorter. We always knew that if it was like, a ½ inch or an inch play or something, it doesn't matter, because once you put the decking down, and as long as the decking goes down in a kind of very linear fashion and nice and straight, it doesn't matter what's underneath it, because you only ever see the top. So I don't know if you spotted the mistake yet, as I've been like waggling the camera around. Because I chopped that one down, was no longer 6 metres. It was actually about that much chopped off the end, because the beam sticking out past that post, it was actually sort of jammed in the post, and it was just easier just to fix it in. But then I had a bit sticking out, which meant I couldn't put the end plate on it. So what I've done is cut it off. So I've actually, this is 6 metres. That one is about that much shorter than 6 metres. And the way that's visible, spotted it yet? Is there. Here. This taper is coming in. So that's probably about 300 millimetres, something like that, 12 inches. And down there's probably about 8 inches. There's the 4 inches that are missing. 4 inches that are missing there. So when we drew a line across there, what we should have done ultimately is drawn a straight line here, parallel. And that meant that when we came down to here, this one here would be over a lot more like that, and you'd just see the taper there. The way we did it is because we started down there and we moved this way up to the halfway point, jumped across here, did the end one, jumped back again. In fact, no, from here we actually started moving back towards the middle, which is why you see the difference there. So that is not parallel to that, and there's example why. That's not camera trickery, that's it's a taper. Once the decking is on, I don't think it'll make any difference whatsoever. It just might mean that the overhang on this side, right on the very end one, is this much, where the overhang down the end is going to be about that much. I don't think I don't care. It really doesn't matter. So we'll just make sure the decking goes on as a rectangle. We'll make sure that when we put the first piece on here, that we project out as a right angle and make sure it clears the end. Same here, when we come to the end and we project down there, as a right angle, we need to make sure it's further than the end of the very last board. And we're going to put decking on the back as well, because of course these are all going to be chopped off. So that's it. You are now up to date.